Well, welcome everyone. Most of us in here have known Rod for many years, but let me give just a brief introduction to introduce those of you that may not know him as well as I do. Rod was born and raised in Spanish Fork and has lived here his whole life. He graduated from Spanish Fork High, class of 1965. He married Ann Swenson in August of 1969, so they're celebrating their 50th anniversary this summer. 2 weeks after they were married in August of 1969, Rod graduated from BYU in elementary education, and a week later he began teaching 5th grade at Thurber Elementary. When the Thurber closed, he moved to Brockbank Elementary and continued to teach 5th grade there for 33 years. Rod and Ann had the privilege and fun of raising 5 sons, Ryan, Brandon, Kyle, Nate, and Nick. And I'm grateful I've known most of these young men while they've been growing up, watched a lot of them play ball, and have enjoyed interacting with them over the years. Their family has now grown to 32 with 5 beautiful daughters-in-law, 15 amazing grandchildren, 2 awesome grandsons-in-law, and 3 wonderful great-grandchildren. Their family means the world to them, and they are blessed to have them all live close. So they get together often, including for Sunday dinner every week. Rod loves Spanish Fork and likes being involved in what's going on in the city. He especially loves sports and enjoyed coaching Pony League baseball for 20 years, 15 of them with Clyde Nielsen. I umpired a lot of their ball games, I remember that. He was president of the Junior Athletic Association. He received the Spanish Fork High School Outstanding Booster Award in 2012-2013. He was a citizen member of the library board for several years, and a few years later he was elected to the Spanish Fork City Council. And I know all of us recognize the tremendous amount of good that he did there. He served there for 8 years. His council assignments included the Senior Citizens Board, the Library Board, the Solid Waste Service Districts Board, the Utah County Animal Shelter Board, Parks and Recreation Board, and Mayor Pro Tem. He served in many capacities in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and him and his wife have been serving as pathway missionaries for 3 years. I've invited one of his good friends and one of those individuals that have worked close with Rod for many years and can testify of the much service that he's donated to the city, so I've invited and like to have Richard Davis come up and say a few words.
Well, it just seems like it was a year ago that we were just sort of switched around, wasn't it? Hey, I want to tell you how big of an honor it is to be here today with the Kiwanis and to honor Rod. I love the Kiwanis Club. You know, I was part of that for many, many, many years and thoroughly enjoyed the service that the Kiwanis Club provided. There was a time I was the president-elect, and about a month before I was supposed to be the president, I got a calling. And I remember going up to J.C. Henderson at the time, and we sat down and we talked about it. And we decided that it was far better for me to continue on with the next calling that I had, and so I had to quit. But I can tell you I've got many, many wonderful memories of the Kiwanis, and I love the service that they provided. Back in the days when I was serving, you know, we were down at the fairgrounds. We'd have to almost remodel our kitchen area and the place that we served and made our hamburgers, you know, for the rodeo. It seemed like every year we'd have to reclean it, repaint it, re-roof it. You know, I mean, a lot of work that we'd have to do, you know, to do that. I love the Hope of America. I just love that service with the junior high. It was part of my schedule, and I loved working with Principal DeGraff and Reed at the time, and just all them wonderful memories that I had with them. I remember the services I had with fellow Kiwanians that have passed away, and the memories I have with them great, wonderful leaders that helped develop Spanish Fork and make the community of Spanish Fork how wonderful it is. They were great people, wonderful people. And I see wonderful people today that are doing the same thing that have led this community and our country into some wonderful, wonderful services and helped a lot of young people in their lives. And I appreciate that, and I love it. Before I forget, since we're going to honor Rod, I want to tell one quick story since it's in my mind, because if I push it down in the middle of my talk, you know, I'll forget it. But it's a good story, and I know Rod loves my stories.
He's the only guy in Ireland who don't go before the joke's over.
So anyway, we were on the city council when we were playing in a golf tournament, and Rod was behind me. He was in another cart. And one of the holes, it was the longest drive contest, where Rod couldn't hit the ball 100 feet. You know, he couldn't hit it along, you know, that far. But anyway, I was ahead of him or behind him. I think I was behind him. And I took the marker that somebody had already hit, and I moved it all the way up to the front, so he was in the lead. The prize was from Dirty Joe Punsters. So I was really hoping he would win, but somebody else cheated, and he didn't get the prize. But I was really, we were all intense, all of us waiting for him to win this prize from Dirty Joe Punsters, and he never did win. Anyway, good stuff. Ryan was supposed to give me some things. I seen him at the eye doctor, and I says, Ryan, I don't want you to tell your dad, but he's getting honored. And I said, so send me some stuff about him, you know. And so I've waited, and I've waited, and I've waited, and never got anything. So this afternoon, I decided I better write something up about Rod. Anyway, I want to tell you how much I love Rod Dart. I truly admire this great and wonderful man. He is truly a mentor to me, and I love him so very much. I remember Rod when I was a little kid. Now, you got to remember that back in the old days, Spanish Fork had about 5,000 people. And so we knew everybody. But I remember going down to the ballpark, and there'd be 4 on my bicycle, and we'd ride down there, and we would play ball and practice and play on all the fields. The big field, Nelson Field, used to be just called the main field, and everybody played on it. But we'd go down there, went to high school playing. There was Rod playing ball, and hey, we loved him. I mean, he was a ball player, you know, and we all admired, you know, high school kids. And so, you know, Rod didn't hit very many home runs, and he didn't hit very many, you know, triples and doubles, but he was a good ball player, and he was a hero. And that's what I remember about Rod Dart as I was growing up. But then he went his way, and I went my way, and he was a few years older than me. And as I came back from Utah State University, I started my business. And I can remember going down, this was in 1977, and I remember going down, and there's Rod working at Will's. And so he's teaching school, and he's got a second job working at Will's. And I always thought, and I've thought about that through the years, and I really admire Rod for what he's doing, because he missed out on a lot of things. A lot of things because he had a second job, because he wanted to give his family the opportunity of a good home, you know, a good place to live, give his kids all the benefits of life, and he missed out on a lot of things. School teachers didn't make very much money. But I'll tell you what, Rod Dart was a great school teacher. A great school teacher. And you can see a lot of students that have had him through the years, and he taught them with love and respect and honor, taught them principles, he taught them history, and all sorts of wonderful things that have helped them throughout their whole life. 5th grade is a wonderful time to teach kids because they're learning responsibilities and things like that, and Rod was a great teacher. I text my son, who Rod was his 5th grade teacher, and I says, let's see if I can even find it now. For some reason, I've got a whole bunch of stuff here. Anyway, I says, Rory, my son Rory, I said, Rory, tell me some things about Rod if you got. And he says, I remember a drawing I made of Mr. Dart, and I didn't think he saw it, but he did. And he took it out of my desk and hung it up. He sincerely loved it. I'd like to sing that. He was a great, patient teacher who greatly nudged me to do my best work. I got a lot of my love from learning from him. I remember he kept the class interested in current events. We learned about the Jarvik 7 artificial heart that was performed on Dr. Barney that year. I never forget that, and I never forget all the wonderful things that Mr. Dart taught me. That was I think that's pretty neat. That's for my son. And so you can think of all the other students, and he talks about all them students. You know, he remembers them, remembers their lives. You know, as I listened to him, you know, when we were together in the city council, he would tell about the different students. I mean, he truly loved them. He loved coaching. You know, in 1977, when I came from Utah State, Jack Swenson asked me to coach a Little League team. And as I was coaching Little League, there was Rod and there was Clyde coaching Pony League. And in 1980, Jack asked me if I'd take an expansion team and coach Pony League. And I said, absolutely. I mean, because Pony League is where you really teach kids how to play baseball. You get to teach them how to slide, and you get to teach them how to steal, and you know, and all sorts of things you just can't teach a Little League kid. They just can't do it, you know. Everybody bats, everybody plays, everybody wins in Little League. But in Pony League, that's where you teach them baseball, you know. And so I took it. And I'll tell you what, I suffered for the first 2 years because everybody froze their best players, and I just took whatever I could get. And, you know, you have to have good pitchers, and you have to have good catchers. But, you know, we struggled. But I still remember playing Rod and Clyde's team and how good they were and how well coached they were. I loved the draft, and we always had the draft at Mr. Dart's room, you know, and it was a point system. And so you could go after any kid with a point system. You just had to play the system right. But he was very knowledgeable about the boys. He was very knowledgeable about the game, and it was very hard to beat Rod and Clyde in baseball. He was a soft coach. You know, he coached with patience and with love. Me, I yelled at him and screamed at him, and, you know, but not Rod, you know, and I admired that. Rod, did you ever win the UBBA? Yeah. Okay, I can tell you, I can count on one hand the coaches back in them days that won a UBBA championship. Because you got to understand that back in them days, we probably had 10,000 people in our town, maybe less than that. And we had 10 Pony Leagues teams. And when you divide all those kids up between 10 teams, it's hard to go and play a Manti or Gunnison or teams like that have all-star teams and win a UBBA championship. The best I ever did was third, and I think I had a fifth-place team. That was the best. But I'm telling you, to win a UBBA championship is hard to do, and that takes great coaching and knowing your players and knowing how to pick them. He was a wonderful, wonderful coach, and I admire him for what he did. He was president of UBBA, you know, a couple of times. And Rod, as you know, loves baseball. He is a Spanish Fort Don, and he is an Atlanta Brave. And I can't believe he doesn't have his Atlanta Brave hat on right now. It's just, I just can't believe he don't have it on. If you want to go find Rod when they're playing Spanish Fort Dons, just go down to the first base line and you'll see him down there. That's where he's at. Rod loves people, and people love Rod. You know, I always thought that I was a gabber, but I'm telling you what, there's nobody more than Rod. You know, we're talking with people all the time, and then the next thing I know, I've lost Rod, and he's over here talking with somebody else. But it's somebody that he's known, it's somebody he's either coached or somebody that he's either taught, you know, or his neighbor or friend or whatever. But people love Rod, and he loves people, and he shows it in his life. We had the opportunity to be elected at City Council at the same time. That really changed my life, and it changed Rod's life. But I'll tell you, to be with Rod for those 8 years was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life. Because one thing about Rod, he was dedicated to the community and to our city. And when issues would come up, he would study them and be prepared. He would call me, I would call him, we would go look at things, we'd go look at issues, we would talk about it, we would debate about them, and then we would act upon it. They were just great times for me to be with the League of Cities and to be with the recreation departments and UMPA and all those different areas, and to go with him and to travel with him and to learn all those responsibilities that we learned as a city councilman, and to know the people and to love them and to love our community. Rod was excellent and wonderful. I've even got some pictures, though, of some really bad days where Rod was asleep and I'd take his picture. You know, because some of those meetings just wasn't always good. You know, but I think he's probably got a couple of pictures of me, too. But, you know, I want to tell a couple of things about our city council experiences. We did some really good and wonderful things, and three things that I think really stand out in my mind was when we got the new fairgrounds, when we got the new arena. We had a great donation by a wonderful citizen, but then it was turned over to the city council, and we made decisions on how to place it, you know, how much money that the city was going to have to dish out and how much the county was going to have to dish out. And as we went on and built it, and I had an opportunity to do a lot of the construction on it, but Rod was down there every day, you know, checking things out and making sure this was happening, and he was dedicated on how it was going to look. We each bought a box down there, you know, to make sure that we were going to be part of it for the rest of our lives and that our families was going to be there for the rest of our lives. He loved that place, and I'll bet he still goes down there and wanders around it. When we were doing remodeling of the Ponderosa and the High Chaparral, he was down there just making sure things were right. You know, he goes around and checks, you know, down there in North Park area and continues to see the construction there because he's concerned and wants to make sure that things are right. Another issue that we were together with was the expansion of the highway, the freeway system into Spanish Fork. They was not going to expand that into Spanish Fork and do the remodel project. They just didn't think it was worth the while, and so we went up to the legislation, we went up to UDOT, and we argued our point that it was very important that the freeway system came down to Spanish Fork and opened up our main street and opened up Highway 6. We did a lot of arguing, a lot of fighting, and had a lot of people help us, legislature. Thank goodness for Becky Lockhart at that time. You know, she was a very good person for us because she was the Speaker of the House at the time, and it helped us, and she was over transportation. But through that, we got the freeway system here. You know, there's a couple of little things I wish they would have done a little bit different, but Rod's knowledge and us all up there getting up there and arguing over it, we got the freeway down here. And it has helped and benefited our city. In fact, still we have backup now again. Can you imagine how it would have been if we'd have never had that happen? In fact, it opened up then for our development of our North Park area. And then the big thing was Costco. When we got Costco, it was a debate between going here or into Springville. And we negotiated, and the incentives that we gave to Costco to get them here, a lot of people thought that we were crazy to do that. But let me tell you what, that was the cornerstone of what has happened now on the north end of Spanish Fork. Without Costco, I don't know where we would be today. But it was a cornerstone. We got them here, and I still remember when we got them. Spanish Fork High School had just won the state championship. And we were all over there at UVU, and we were screaming and shouting. And all of a sudden, Dave Euler looks at his phone, takes one look at it, and we sees all of us, and for some reason we were all there together, all of the city council and the mayor, and he says, we just got Costco. Well, we started dancing and screaming and shouting and, you know, dance with each other. Now people are looking at us like, what in the heck is going on here? But they didn't realize how important that truly was to Spanish Fork and the development that truly has been a cornerstone of what's happened in North Park. That was very big, very big. You know, we've not always agreed on everything. We've had our debates, you know, we've had our struggles back and forth, but we've all done it with honor and respect. I still remember the big debate. I'll call it the big debate, and it was on a sign issue that was happening on the North Park area. And Rod was the mayor pro tem. The mayor wasn't there, so Rod was the mayor pro tem, and there was 5 of us. And he was for it. They wanted to make the signs bigger, the developer, and I wanted to keep them the same. And the reason why I really wanted to keep them the same was the developers wasn't doing anything for us yet. And I was just so mad at him that I didn't want to give him anything else. But Rod, he could, you know, through his wisdom and his studying and stuff like that, he looked at it, and he decided that it would be a good thing to make our signs different and change our Title 15 to make signs better. And so we had a debate, and it was basically me and Rod. It was back and forth, and there was no yelling or screaming. He would just sit there and tell his issues, and I would tell my issues. He would tell his issues, and I would tell his issues. And I want to tell you one thing. If nothing was learned that day, I can tell you that true politics were done that night. It was, after we got all done, and by the way, he won 3-2. 3-2. That's how the vote came out. 3-2, and he won. But after it was all said and done, the main thing about that is I wish that's how politics was run all the time, by all of our leaders and that, because it was well respected, well done. He had his points, I had my points, and we just worked them together. And to this day, I look at it now and I think, I think we were both wrong. I think they should have been bigger. As that has developed, I've sort of wished that it would have been better. He loves to read, and I love to read. And so we have shared books and talked to each other. And by the way, Rod, we haven't talked to each other about books lately, and so I've got you a new book.
I've got you one.
It's called Leadership in Turbulent Times by Doris Goodwin Kearns. It's a great one. So there you go. There's my new book for you. But we haven't talked to each other about new books lately. But I'd get a new book, and I'd start to read it, and I'd call Ron, and I said, hey, I got a new book. And he'd get a new book, and he'd call me, because we both love reading. And he's a history nut. He's crazy about it, and I love it too. And so his interests in that are my interests, and it's been fun to be with him in those areas. He loves good stories. I just told you a great story. It was fun telling him my stories and my jokes, because he would laugh at every one of them. There's one about Cheetos. There's one about Cheetos. To this day, if somebody pulls out a package of Cheetos, he'll just start to laugh. We don't want to tell it. And so, but I'm just telling you that one day, if you pull a pack of Cheetos and wave it in front of him, he'll just break down laughing. Anyway, Rod loves his cabin. What a great investment you guys did with that. And he's so proud of it, and he's proud of the boys for what you're doing, and he just truly, truly loves his cabin. Rod loves his family. He truly loves each and every one of you. Rod, Ann, he loves you so very much. He talks about you all the time. He worries about you. I think it'd be the other way around. You ought to worry about him. But he truly, truly loves his wife, and he truly loves his boys. He's helped coach you. He's given you great influences. He respects and loves you for what you've done, and you can see by the way you've lived your life and his influence and his kindness and his love that he's shown you. He loves his grandkids. He loves to travel and see them play. I'll call him up to see if he wants to go get a donut or something, or to go to lunch, and he'll go, oh, I'm in Vegas. I'm in Mesquite. I'm in New York. I'm in all these places, because he just loves his family and wants to travel with them and be with them. Also, I've noticed that Rod truly loves the principles and guidance of the gospel of Jesus Christ. He loves his Father in heaven, and his Father in heaven loves him. He respects him and loves him, and he's dedicated to him. It's very important to him, his religion and his love for our Father in heaven. I love to study people. I love to watch people and to see how they act. And I have studied Rod a lot, his kindness and his love and his softness as he talks. I've tried to do that in my life a little bit better. I'm not like that. I've never been that way. In fact, I pray to my Father in heaven daily to help me be meek and gentle and kind like Rod Dart is. Like Rod Dart is. Now, I'm sure you boys can tell me some stories of a different way, but what I have witnessed all my life with Rod Dart is how kind and gentle and meek he truly is in life. Abraham Lincoln, in a book, Doris Goodwin wrote a book called Team of Rivals, and she talks about Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln wrote in this book when he was 28 years old that he was a traveling lawyer, and he was discouraged, and he had depression issues, and he was writing in his journal. He says, I really feel like I almost feel like I want to kill myself, commit suicide, because I just don't think I've accomplished the things that I've wanted to do in my life. But he says, but what stops me from doing that is I'm afraid that if I do that, nobody will ever remember who Abraham Lincoln was. And so many years later, when he's President of the United States, he's writing in his journal, I think I have finally done something that people will remember who Abraham Lincoln is. And it's not because he was President of the United States, it's because he wrote the Emancipation Proclamation. Now, Rod's never wrote something like the Emancipation Proclamation. You know, and he probably will never be the President of the United States. But I can tell you one thing, people in our community will always remember who Rod Dart is because of how he acted, how he lived his life, how he loved our community, how he still loves our community, and how he loves his family. And without his family, they have made Rod Dart, and Rod Dart has made them. He's made our community a lot better. He has made many, many people have a better life and a better influence and better leaders because of Rod Dart. You have truly picked a great man for this award. I can tell you that. Like I said at the very beginning, I love Rod Dart because I love him for what he is, and I love him for what he represents. Thank you.
On behalf of the Spanish Fort Kiwanis Club, we'd like to present Rod Dart with our Community Service Award. Grateful for the service that he's given. Well, thank you very much, and
Thank you so much.
you bet. We'd like you to just say a few words and let us know how you feel about our community and your family.
Well, I'd like to thank the Kiwanis Club for this honor. It's a special honor to me. If you look at your program and the list of recipients who got this, who have received this award, 1987, my father received this award. And I know how special it was to him. He had a plaque similar to this, and he displayed it in his home. And I know that he was proud of it, and I am too. And Richard, I'd like to thank you for that delivery. You did it just the way I wrote it.
Not a chance you won't.
It was a little embellishment there, but I appreciate it. Richard has been a good friend of mine. We really got to know each other when we were on the city council, and what he said about some of the accomplishments we got done while we were there is true, and especially the Costco thing. And I know we took a little flack on the incentives that we gave Costco, but we're reaping the benefits right now in just the sales tax revenue that we're receiving from the sales. It's unbelievable. And then with all the rest of them, which helps keep your property taxes low. Property taxes are some of the lowest in the county, and it's because of our sales tax revenue. I'd like to have Ann stand up again. All my accomplishments, if whatever they are, you know, they say behind every good man there's a woman. Well, she's been behind me, pushing me, and also been at my side, and I love her for that. And I don't think any of the things that I've accomplished in my life. I've been married longer than I haven't been, and 50 years is a long time. She has been right there with me, and I want you to know how much I love her and appreciate the help and advice that she's giving me all the time. I'd also like to introduce my boys and their wives. My number one son, oldest, is Ryan. Ryan and Amy, stand up.
Wave at the TV.
My number 2 son is Brandon and Heidi. And my number 3 son is coaching a baseball game right now. Imagine that. He may show up or he may not, I don't know. Number 4 son is Nathan and his wife Kylie. And the baby, they used to call me that too. Nick and his wife Laura. You stand, please. They've married well, haven't they? Yeah. Anyway, I'm proud of them. None of them live with me. They are gainfully employed, and I appreciate that. And I'm proud of the citizens that they have become. Also, they're all doing well, and I hope that I've been a good example to them. Richard and I, we have a lot of things in common. We got the same initials. We go to the same barber. I really grew to love Richard with our time on the city council. We had a lot of fun, had a lot of tough decisions we had to make. Like he said, we didn't always agree on things, but we took the vote and moved on. No matter, what it was, there was no grudges held. We just moved on. We had to do that. I don't know what else I can say. I do want to say I appreciate the Kiwanis Club. Richard mentioned a lot of things that you do, and I know you're very service oriented. And I'm glad we got the new arena there, so you guys got a decent place to sell your wares. I know it came up a time or two on whether we should charge you to open that, and we always said no. We're not going to charge the Kiwanis Club. They pour the money back into the community, and we're going to help them as much as we can. And I appreciate the work that the Kiwanis Club does for the community. Speaking of, Richard talked a lot about coaching baseball. I taught Dennis's son, John Gull. We coached him up a little bit, and great young man. Had a lot of great young men. And one thing that John always does when he sees me is he still calls me coach. And I appreciate that. That might be the greatest title I've ever had. I don't know. But anyway, I thank you for the honor. I will cherish this, hang it in my home, and I'm thankful that you even considered me for this honor, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Rod. We really do appreciate all the work that you've done in the community. Really do appreciate everything you've done and have done. I appreciate Richard and Rod very much because I've watched them from afar. I have my master's in public administration. I work for Utah County government. So I've always watched you on Channel 17 and watched everything you've done. Yeah. I've always had to review all of your work at the county because I work for the Utah County Recorder, and have had to work closely with your planning and zoning. And so I've always had to deal with all the issues from afar and also close. And appreciate all the thought and input that you've had over the years and the issues that you've had to deal with. And have appreciated the work that you've done and the hard efforts that you've put into that and the thought. And with that, we will adjourn.